I'm curious if free agency is a competitive event for you.
Um, yeah, I think everything we do is competitive. It's obviously something that I'm a competitor. Our team's is in competition with other teams, so I would say it's a competition. Yeah, I think it's fair to say that.
Does that enter your mind when you see moves other teams made, or when you're going after guys in the initial stage? When does it come out for you?
Say that again, Derek. I didn't understand your question.
Oh, the competitive part of it, does it come out for you in the phrase leading up to Tuesday? Does it come out when you see the moves other teams made?
No, I think you're. I mean, when you get into free agency, with the addition of the window where you can actually speak to the players, um, you usually get a pretty strong indication of what's happening before it even starts. So, that week leading up to the actual official opening of free agency is where a lot of the talks and a lot of the decisions are made at that time, because you get an indication of how interested the player is in your team, and then you can get a better gauge on what will happen in free agency. So there's a pretty long build up to it. This year um, with not being able to sign players until December, it was a little bit different because it was more compacted. We didn't have that week or two after the season where we could sign some of our free agents, so it maybe intensified it a little bit.
How long are those work days between January 31st and then Tuesday?
Um, they're I guess all day, all morning, all day, all night. They don't really stop, I guess. And usually, if you when you do sleep, you'll wake up to some more messages that you'll start working on as soon as as soon as you get out of bed. But it's part of the job. It makes it definitely the fun part of the job, I guess. And you're never really not on the job.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Yeah.
Jerry, how do you assess your free agency period now? When I think are you pretty well done now with free agents, or do you first off, and how do you assess what you've done so far?
Yeah, we're pretty much done, Murray, with free agency. We had obviously going into the window. We had some time to talk with our own free agents and try to gauge whether we were going to have any of those guys returning. And then at that point, there's a point in time where you have to decide and make a decision on. Um, can, Sorry, the fire alarm's going off here. It's a false alarm, everyone, and they're just letting us know that it was a false alarm. So, anyways, sorry, Marie. To answer your question, is you kind of know the direction of anyone else you're talking to once you get into that window, and you can try to plan accordingly from there. So I don't know if you always go into that window with the exact plan that you come out of, but we certainly knew the route we would go if anything changed during free agency, and you really just have to pivot a little bit your approach, and then make sure that you have an opportunity to talk to all the players that you want to in that window, because the window does close prior to free agency, and you want to make sure that you're in a good position and you've had an opportunity, whether it was myself or our coaches that have reached out to the current free agents that you want to talk to, so that you're in good position when free agency opens.
So I guess we could tell your plan was to go defensive, considering
Um,
7 and 8.
yeah, and to maybe further answer your question, when you asked how we thought free agency went, and it's the same with most teams. Our free agency starts much earlier than when we get to talk to players on other teams. We really focused strongly on getting our own guys back. I think you could see it through the guys that we were signing, that we were getting the majority of our offensive guys back, and um, we realized that that was happening. It wasn't by intention. It's just a matter of that's kind of when it worked out. So we continued to work through our offense. We got the majority of our receivers back with Shaq and Kyron and Jay Will, and we we extended Cody, and then on the defensive side, we secured our defensive backfield, and had to do some restructures as well. But we knew going into free agency, obviously, that our defense wasn't intact. But look, as I say all the time, we're not always going to end up with the same team they had from the year before. Sometimes there's going to be change. You can't be afraid that some change will happen. And let's face it, it's our job to try to bring in good football players that people haven't heard of. Right? We're trying to bring in the next group of stars. And when you have a successful team, our last 2 years that we played, we were 12-6 and 13-5, and you're gonna end up losing some players over time if you've had success. So it's our job to make sure that we're replacing those players, bringing in high quality players that have the ability to play at a high level.
We saw that with the release of Charleston Hughes. How tough was that, and what were those negotiations like?
Yeah, so Charleston and I were in conversations for a number of weeks, and from our standpoint, it got to a point where we really needed to know whether Charleston was going to come back, and so we felt like it wasn't fair for both parties to continue the conversations if we didn't feel like that a deal would get done. So we had another couple conversations, and at that time we decided that it was best to release Charleston, gives them the ability to go and get out in front of the free agent market, and also gives us the ability to know what we're working with going into free agency. We didn't want it to be a situation where we went too far down the road, and then we didn't get Charleston back, and then we were sitting there after free agency without a plan. So we decided to move forward earlier in the process than we anticipated.
So it didn't have anything to do with him being 37, or was it more of just the business side of football?
No, I think it was probably just came down to the business side. Again, we don't really talk about the negotiations and the contractual terms of everything, but we definitely offer Charleston contracts to come back, and for whatever reason, it's a negotiation, and for an agreement to happen, it has to be mutual from both sides. And I don't think there's anyone to blame for this, and it was a situation where that we just weren't able to come to an agreement.
Anybody else can ask questions?
Jeremy, was it Charleston's side that asked for his release early, or was it just something that you decided to do on your end?
No, I presented to Charleston, and I thought that it would be best for both of us that we try to come to a conclusion sooner than later. And then at that point, we agreed we told them that we would release him to look at other opportunities.
What changed with Micah Johnson 1 year after moving away from him? Now he's coming in. What's different now from a year ago when Micah left?
I don't necessarily would say that we moved away from Micah. I think that every year you're dealing with different challenges to your salary cap, and moving into last year, we had to make a decision whether we thought that a salary to that extent would fit within our structure. So it wasn't necessarily that we were moving on. It was more of I would say it was more of a financial cap issue for us, where we had to retain some of the players that we needed to, and at that point we just didn't feel like we could fit it in. And so every year is different. We've never been disappointed in Micah's play by any means. He's a very good football player. He's a disruptive football player, and we were happy to hear that the feeling was mutual, that he enjoyed our team, and believed in our organization, and wanted to come back with us. So we were excited when we talked to him.
What played out with respect to the discussions to potentially re-signing Cameron Judge? I know you had mentioned earlier that he wanted to exhaust all NFL opportunities, and obviously you can't wait forever. You've got to make up your linebacking core. Was it just as simple as that, or was there more to it than him just wanting to shop around the NFL?
You're on the right track. I think it's a similar situation where at a certain point we have to maybe eliminate some of our risk, and so we were aware, and they were really good through the process that that Cam was going to have a workout with the NFL, and we were continuing to talk with him as representation all through the process. And then once we found out that his workout was going to be after the free agent window, we really had a decision to make. So at that point, the decision was, do you wait and hope that you get him back, or do you make a decision and attack free agency where you have a little bit more of the known versus the unknown? There was always a risk that, and there still is, that Cam gets signed in the NFL because he is a free agent. And there's also the chance that we wouldn't have gotten him back. And we just didn't feel like us holding that, substantial amount of salary back in free agency, and then 3 or 4 days after free agency, getting back into the free agency market after it's already been kind of picked through. We didn't really like the look of that, and so we had to make a decision. All these decisions are not easy decisions. That was very thought through. It affected the way we approached free agency. We also considered whether we could switch our ratio if we didn't have Cam back. I think we have the flexibility to do that. I also feel like we have some good Canadian linebackers that also can play at a high level, but we also have the ability to switch our ratio if need be, where we could go with a field corner, add another Canadian DB, and then essentially that will position for us can switch over to an American. We also have a good group of Canadian receivers where we have opportunity there. So we talked about all those things, and then decided that that was the route we were going to go.
That whenever a player does that, they're obviously taking some risk themselves because there may be less options available for them. When you're in that situation, I'm sure Cameron Judge isn't the first or the last player who you'll be in that situation with. Is that something that you have to communicate and point out to their representation that, we may not be able to give you the same options that you have today if you're going to go this NFL route later on?
Yeah, we made that clear. After we had some time to process it, that we weren't going to be able to hold that through free agency. And then I guess you're correct to say at that point, I'm not speaking for Cam. At that point, he has to make a decision whether he wants to go to the workout, take the opportunity to come back with us, or obviously he would be in contact with other teams at that point, and I'm sure that he'll have an opportunity in the CFL if he chooses to come back.
Jeremy, you were pretty busy there on the first day of free agency. Was that always the plan, or did you kind of have to pivot?
No, like I said, I think when you get into the negotiation window, you have a pretty good indication on how it's going to pan out, or how it's going to shake down once the window opens up. But again, you never really know until the free agency is truly opened. There was a couple that we were still wondering if they were going to accept our offers. And then once the window opens back up, where you can call them back and get on the phone with their agents, that's when you kind of secure, who's coming back. So everyone that we targeted in free agency, we were able to sign.
And the Herdman Reed brothers, was that always going to be a package deal, or did that kind of come to fruition later?
I think they definitely were. They were definitely wanting it to happen, but it had to make sense. We didn't want to just sign them because they were twin brothers. We wanted to sign them for the right reason. And look, they bring a lot of flexibility. Both of them, Jordan in particular, has started multiple games in BC at their Mac linebacker position, and Justin, when given the opportunity to play at will, was a very successful player at will. Both of them were highly productive college players. Both of them are very good special teamers. They're high character kids, and we saw that that became a little bit more clear as Cam's situation was starting to become clear, that we kind of like the opportunity that was there, and they were obviously excited to be teammates again, and we're happy to have them. I think they'll be a good fit with our team.
And sorry if I missed this from earlier, but is there more moves to be made? Are you still planning to be active, or are you kind of done now?
Yeah, I don't think there's, you know, I don't want to ever say never. We'll always look for opportunities to try to make our team better. Uh, so there may be some more happening, but I don't anticipate, um, the likelihood of that is, you know, like I said, we'll continue to have conversations with some guys, and there's nothing that's intimate right now.
Thank you.
Hey, Jeremy Taylor here. What's your assessment of Larry Dean, and does he fill that void in the middle of your defense left by Solomon's departure?
Yeah. Yeah. First off, just wanted to first of all congratulate Solomon on just an awesome career. You know, I shared this with him when I talked to him, and once we had him here for the one season that we did have him, Solomon comes as advertised. We obviously knew he was a good player, certainly a candidate for the Hall of Fame, but you know, he's just outstanding person, outstanding player. We were honored to have him. Just a great leader. I know he's going to do great in his next career, but super honored to have him as part of our team. Wish him the best. And yeah, so we wanted to have some veteran presence at the linebacker core, knowing that that Cam and Solly were likely not going to be back. So we were able to get on the phone and talk to Larry. And you know, we've scouted Larry even way back when he was in the NFL, and obviously he's done a great job in the CFL. But yeah, we think that he can fill that void there. And you know, they're different players, but Larry brings a lot to the table. He's also a natural leader, highly productive player. You know, he's a player that has done a great job of staying healthy too. He's played in I think every game that he's been active for, or I think he's played all 18 games for the 4 years he's been up here. Just great in all areas. He's a physical player. He's a guy that also can cover. You can blitz him. He does a lot of good things. So we feel like he'll be a good addition to our defense.
Was there an official contract offer to Solomon, or was he set on retirement?
You know, in respect to Solomon, I don't know if we'll get into the details of that. We had discussions with him. You know, obviously he was a pending free agent for us, so we talked to his agent. We had an indication that this might be the case.
And going to the offensive line, bringing in Evan Johnson, Canadian local kid, is he that right guard starter, at least penciled in Shepley's old spot?
Yeah, so Evan's someone obviously we think very highly of. A good football player, has played at a high level with Ottawa. And you're correct. Obviously, when Shepley signed in the NFL with the Niners, we we thought we were a little bit thin on the offensive line. So we wanted to go with a proven guy. It just works out the benefit as he's a local guy, and he'll fit right in with our culture. And Evan's super happy to be here. We're super happy to have him. He's a guy that not only is a good interior player, but he also has the ability to play tackle. That he got to do a little bit in Ottawa in a pinch. So brings some flexibility to the O line. Brings a little bit of youth to it, and we're super excited to have him join us.
One more. Do you see any? Camp is a ways away, but do you see any starting positions truly up for grabs this year? I mean, everything is always going to be a competition, but how many spots do you think are truly up for grabs at camp?
Yeah, obviously, the positions that we mentioned already. We're going to have a new starter at will, and so there's a number of ways we can go there. If we keep the ratio the same, then Micah Tights and the Herdmans will have an opportunity to fill that void. If we go Americans, Really excited about the young guys that we brought in. We have Gary Johnson that was back from last year that we got for a couple games that we're very excited for him. Some of the younger guys that we signed that people haven't heard of, Marquez Gates, Deshaun Davis, are all very good players that we think can fill that void at will linebacker if we don't switch the ratio. And then obviously we'll have a new pass rusher with Charleston going to another team. There we have we have Jeter coming back that has some experience in our league. We signed Freddie Bishop that's been a good player in our league. And then again, we have some very good young players that we signed. Tim Williams that played at Alabama and with the Ravens is a really a natural pass rusher. We're excited about him. Keon Adams that was with the Steelers for a couple years there is another good pass rusher. And Pete Robertson that was another NFL guy that came out of Texas Tech that are all qualified pass rushers to fill that void. So those are two positions. If we flip the ratio and we go field corner, then Eli Buka and Godfrey Anyaka will have a opportunity to win that job. If we don't go with
Thanks.
And then
Saved by the bell.
Sorry, it's still going here. It's probably going to go on for a while. Receiver will also have another young receiver in there that will fight for that position.
Jeremy, it's been 450 days and 2 free agent periods since the Riders have last played a game. How anxious are you to just see all of this play out on the field again? It must be driving you nuts.
Yeah, no, it's definitely some build-up to trying to get on the field, and when you start shaping the roster and you start seeing the roster kind of come to the whole team is in place and the coaching staff's in place and everything's ready to go, then you get a little bit more excited. These last couple of weeks were pretty busy, but the last number of days you really start to get excited and hopeful that we're going to get back onto the field. So yeah, that's what we're all that's the light at the end of the tunnel, and that's the excitement that we're all thinking about. We talk about it all the time about how cool it's going to be to get back out on the field and get back playing. It's been a long time. All of us that are in this game have been doing it for a long time, and we're always used to this repetitive cycle of a season and then an off season, and when you don't have one, it maybe wears on you a little bit, but the excitement's definitely there, more so than ever. We've had 2 off seasons to scout and to recruit, so we're really excited about the young guys that we've been able to bring to our team and see what they bring to the table. Look, we want to develop, scout, develop, and hopefully retain some new stars, right? So it's been 2 full years of that, and we're not the only team that's had that opportunity. There's going to be a lot of talented football players that are in our league this year.
Beautiful new stadium, and yet it's strictly an office right now because of COVID and the fact you can't play.
Yeah, it's Rob, it's definitely a weird feeling being in the stadium with it not being used for what it's intended to be used for, right? Especially in the football ops area. The lockers are empty, and I don't want to say the weight room's quiet because our guys have been coming in when they can. But yeah, it's kind of the feeling. There's always a feeling after the season ends, and you guys know it, where it's full go, and then all of a sudden the season ends, the guys kind of fly out, and then you come to work the week after, and it's almost like a ghost town. But it does have that feeling. But actually, myself and one of the staff members were talking about today, it's not the same without the players in the building, right? The players are what make the building, what make it go, and when they're not here, yeah, it's definitely different. But there's some excitement building, and this through free agency certainly helped us through that, right? When you're focused in on trying to put your best team together, and this is the heavy lifting for my department is through free agency, the draft, and the off season, and you want to make sure that you're going into camp with the best team possible. There's an old saying that if if you're not very good going to camp, you're not going to be very good coming out of camp. So you want to make sure you have a great team when you go into camp, so you have the chance to come out of camp hitting on all cylinders. And we feel like we have a very good team, and we're excited about the 2021 season.
Hey, Jer, I get asked a lot about the half dozen quarterbacks on the roster. Sorry, Rob, did I interrupt you?
If you're asking about quarterbacks, you probably did interrupt them, Murray.
But what's the thought process behind having 6 of them on the roster right now?
Yeah, I think we kind of addressed this the last time. So
Did we? Okay, so, yeah.
that's okay. The plan is to bring 6 to camp, and some of that will depend on if our numbers remain the same, which we hope they do. If we're able to come to a rookie camp with 100 players on the roster, then we want to have a chance to evaluate those guys. They've been on our neg list for a while now, and we want to have the opportunity to see them in person. As I said the last time, was one of the differences from a normal off season is we usually get to go to free agent camps and also mini camps in the off season. So you get an opportunity to see some of the guys on your neg list prior to coming to regular rookie camp. So we weren't able to do that this year, where you can't go and actually see them throw in person. So this will give us an opportunity to evaluate those guys up close and personal in camp, and then we can make decisions from there. It's a tricky situation where you want to make sure that everyone's getting a good opportunity, and there's only a limited amount of reps that you can have. So you may have to make a decision sooner than later in training camp.
How does your Sam linebacker position look right now in terms of what you have there?
Yeah, so Sam's, is another position that will be a position where you'll see a new player there, or possibly one of our current players that will be moving to Sam. And so, last year, what's different this year? Last year we signed Otha as a veteran guy that could play at that position at a high level. And so we decided that we were going to go a little bit younger at that position. We feel like we have some guys that were here already that could play Sam, but we also it kind of also fits in with Lorenzo Jerome that we got from free agency. He has the ability to play Sam. So the combination of the guys that we already have under contract and the addition of Jerome, we feel like we're in good position for the Sam linebacker. And again, it is going to come down to some recruiting too, right? So we have to be able to uncover the next Derek Moncrief and the next Otha Foster, and those guys weren't who they were until they got an opportunity to play. So you don't know who you have until they get an opportunity, and all these guys that we're talking about now that we signed back in free agency at one point, they got an opportunity, and then it made them what they are. So that's going to happen every year. Again, our job is to try to restock the cupboards and to bring in capable players that are capable of playing at a high level. So anytime you're dealing with the league with a salary cap, it's just a reality. If you have success, you're going to deal with it a little bit more because it's hard to retain good players when they play at a high level. And so we have to do a good job at scouting to replace those guys.
Jeremy, you mentioned camp. Once the pads start colliding for the first time, that first day, I don't know what the correct word is, euphoric, or how will that feel when, it'll be 500, 600 days by the time you can actually do that again? Who knows how many days that will be?
Yeah, well, I think it'll be emotional for everyone that's involved, especially the players that have gone through these hard times as well. All the staff and everyone that's gone through this. Look, it's challenged everyone through this situation that we're dealing with. So I think it will be emotional. Myself personally, first day at camp is always the most exciting day of the year for me, because you get to see everyone on the field, and you finally have gotten everyone here through the travel, and you've gotten them through customs, and they're here. These are the guys that you've scouted for years, and not only the new guys, but even more specifically the players that that have been here for a number of years, the players that you know what they're going through. There's been more challenges than you know about for our players through this time, and we try to communicate with them, and we just want to get them all back together, and that's what they all want to do, is they want to be back together so they can see each other and do what they love to do, which is play football. So I think it'll be emotional for everyone. I think that all the players will have a new take on the game. I know from my personal experience, whenever I had an injury where I missed time, I always came back with a I don't want to say a different perspective, but just maybe a new, more engaged reality of how awesome it is to play our game, and how much you miss it if you're not playing. So I think they'll be excited. It'll be emotional, but I can't tell you how much myself, our staff, our team, our players, our coaches are just looking forward to getting back to playing.
What's it like in the building? Like, how populated is the building? I've driven by there a few times during the day, and there haven't been a lot of vehicles, etc. Is it just you and the security person and a cat, or what's it like over there?
Well, it's a big building, so we have limited staff that are in here. The business office staff, majority are working from home. Our football operation staff, some of them are furlonged right now, so they're not in the building, obviously. And even the staff that's on that's currently still with us is you know, I've told the staff that if you need to be in the building to do your job, then you should be in the building. If you have to, if you don't feel comfortable being in the building, then you can do your work from home. A lot of guys, they want to be in the building to get just to have the feeling of being working in the building. And football ops, we're really spaced out, so we're all in our own offices, but you know, we at least have some interaction. And you know, when you're in our office, we're kind of business as usual. When we're out, we're wearing masks and trying to stay safe. So it's very quiet, Rob, in the stadium. It's different than normal. Like I said, it's the same, almost the exact same feeling after the season ends, where it just all of a sudden goes from action packed to just quiet. And that doesn't mean there's not work being done. It just means that it's just a little more quiet. It's more like a library right now than it is a football team. But
What's it like standing in that room right now at a podium talking to nobody who's actually in the room?
maybe I'm just getting used to it, Rob. So it actually doesn't feel any different now, because we've been doing it for so long. We've had a lot of meetings that have just been the same thing, talking to a camera. So it's been a lot of it's been maybe because we've done it over time, that it's, you know, it just kind of feels normal now. It's definitely, you miss the interactions, and even just seeing each other and facial expressions, and um, you know, so I guess right currently it doesn't. There was a point in time where it felt pretty weird, that you didn't have people in the room, but now it's kind of more of a just, I guess we just adapt to it, and just keep pushing forward. And I don't know if I've ever said I'd be missing you guys so much, but I actually do miss seeing you guys in person. So
On a scale of 1 to 10, how severely are we missed? Please flatter us.
boy, you're asking me to lie. No, now you're asking me to lie. How much do I miss you guys personally? Is that what you're asking me, Rob?
Yeah, just lightheartedly, of course.
I would say that I miss you about an 8.5. That's a lot.
And how do we make up the 1.5? Is it,
Players and coaches, I would say I miss them more than 10 maxed out from missing those guys. When you talk to them on the phone, you realize how much you miss them. But even just personalities, you know, you don't see the personalities and the emotions you go of talking to people on a regular basis. And you know, players are always on different emotional levels, but you miss that in the building, right? You miss those guys communicating with each other. It's always nice when a player's coming in and you hear the weights going, you hear the weights clanging, that I could hear from my office. So that's something that you know, makes you feel good when you do that. And there is a number of players that are still that still come in and utilize the gym, and it's nice to see those guys, and they're chomping at the bit to play football, right? So Yeah, it's you miss a lot of things that you never thought you maybe just took it for granted. But look at we're looking forward to the future, and I just think it's going to be great once we get back to some resemblance of what it used to be.